Are you tired of the typical libraries with conventional music that makes you feel meh? Introducing Leerecs.com, the music website made for and by minds like you. Our team are lifelong musicians and producers in love with music. Search the Leerecs music catalogs and find music with guaranteed originality. Mark the difference with music of signature at Leerecs.com.
I'm calling out to you, but you can't hear. With my green light each night at the end of the pier, burning through the stars onto your window pane. I write these songs for you, but they're all in vain. Sometimes I feel like Gatsby. I'm throwing parties in my head.
Awesome! Did you hear that energy? Especially like the vocal intro on falsetto. It's fantastic. And we have this songwriter and artist with us today. His name is Wyatt James, and what you're listening to is his solo project, Horsewreck. Horsewreck. This song, Is This Real? Really, is this real? Hi Wyatt, how's it going?
It is. Hi, it is real. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Absolutely. Come on, this is so good. Really, I'm very impressed. And please introduce.
Thank you so much.
Oh, of course. And please introduce yourself. Tell us everything about your music and yourself.
All right. My name is Wyatt James. I am based out of Portland, Oregon, and you're hearing my new solo project called Horsewreck, which was just me trying to follow my dreams of being a songwriter. And I work full-time as a gigging bass player, so I gig usually a few times a week on average. And, I just, after a few years of doing that, I wanted to start playing my own music. I love playing other people's music, but I wanted to write something and perform something that's all me. So that's what you're hearing with Horsewreck.
You know, it's interesting that you say you're a bass player. I could tell because one of the best things from the song is great all around, but one of the best things that I could hear is really the bass line. Bass line,
awesome.
Yeah, when it starts kicking, it's like really pumps it up. Incredible. The voice.
Thank you. Yeah.
The voice is also fantastic. So you could be also a singer yourself. I mean, you are a singer yourself. Why did you focus on the bass?
Well, I started playing bass at a really young age. I'm 25 now, and I started playing bass I think when I was like 11, and I've really just been focusing on that ever since for my career. I studied jazz in college, specifically on bass guitar. So really, what you're hearing is the product of songwriting from a bass player.
Wow.
So.
Wow. I mean,
the bass is always usually the easiest part for me, and I struggle with the rest. That's always the slow haul, is like getting the guitar and the vocals. But the bass is I always save for last because that's what I'm used to doing with most of my time.
Right. I mean, it makes sense, but wow, I'm so glad that you took the leap forward and really worked on these solo projects. It's a gift, and this is really what we want to empower. We need good music in this world these days.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, fantastic. You are 25 only, so you started playing at 11. And what about the rest of the instruments? When did you pick up a guitar?
Well, I've only been playing guitar for maybe since I was like 18 or so. I started taking that seriously. But I'm all self-taught on guitar. When people see me play, if I'm playing single note, guitar style, like I'll just play on the first 4 strings because it's basically just a bass at that point, And so I can't play with a pick because I've been playing with bass with just a finger style. So whenever I play guitar, you're hearing a bass player play the guitar like a bass, essentially. But yeah, I wanted to start playing guitar because as much as I love bass, I think to write a really good song, you need some kind of chordal instrument.
Well, how did you start writing?
Oh, I started writing. I got the opportunity once the pandemic started. I think a lot of people kind of did a similar thing where it's, I was out of work for a while, and I just had all this free time, and I was like, well, I should probably start writing music because it's something I'd always wanted to do, but never really had the time. Usually, with my free time, I'm practicing or learning other people's songs, and that was finally, I guess coming on 2 years ago now, the first opportunity I had with enough free time to start writing my own music. And so I wrote a whole album over the first year of the pandemic, and then this song, Is This Real, I've only wrote probably about 9 months ago.
Okay. Wow, it's really impressive how quickly you managed to really master the craft is really, really impressive. What would you say are your biggest influences?
Oh, by far, my biggest influence is a band called Say Anything. And I started listening to them in my first year of college, and it was actually the first album I heard from them was an all acoustic album, just with their lead singer playing guitar with himself. And when I first heard that, I was like, wow, like this is so great. Like, you really don't need much more than a guitar and a voice to write great songs. And so that's how I got started. I was instantly inspired by them.
Say Anything. All right.
Just this one album that inspired me by them. I mean, I've really a lot of the things that Say Anything did influenced me as well, just because it's kind of a similar setup where the lead singer writes and composes and performs most of the stuff himself on the album, and then he just has a touring band with him. And so when I started learning more about that band, I was like, wow, like I want to do that exact same thing. I want to write songs and perform them all myself, and when it comes time to play live, just get a band that can back me, like a really good band.
Absolutely. And when do you think, do you have plans for that? How is that process going?
Right now, I'm just focusing on writing and releasing the music that I have right now. Like I said, I have a full-length album that's almost finished. Right now, it's in the mixing process, and I have a really great mixer named Brad Wood, who is just an absolute legend in the industry, especially for like indie and alternative rock. So Brad mixed this single that you're hearing right now as well, and he really brought that to another level. And so yeah, right now my plan is just to get my music out and see if I can get a following and hopefully play some shows. I would love to.
Yeah, I mean, really, the mixing is definitely a craft. is really, really difficult. So how do you go about your what's your process for recording?
Brad Wood, yeah, he's in LA. But I actually I just sent him the mixes. He didn't mix it in person with me. It was just a series of emails and phone calls back and forth. But for actually recording and tracking all my music, I don't really have many skills in music engineering. I make usually these really rough demos on my laptop, and then I take them into a studio here in Portland, and I track everything there. Because I knew when I started this, like I didn't want to cut any corners production-wise. You know, I knew right off the bat that's where my budget was going to go.
Right.
You know,
Well,
take it to a really professional, high-end studio and record it there.
It's a wise decision. Really, the results speak for themselves. And
Thank you.
absolutely. I mean, I'm really, really impressed. So, talk a little bit more about that process. Once you get your, all the tracks and the studio and all that, how do you do it to mix, at a distance? Are you taking instructions, or do you send it over?
Well, so it's funny with the whole process with recording. I actually started with the album first, and I didn't know how much time I would need. I originally booked 4 days in the studio, and I ended up needing about 11, I think, to do the album. And so this time around with the single, I booked 4 days just for this one single, and I used every day of it. And as for tracking in any kind of music during a pandemic, I guess that's kind of the benefit I have of being a solo artist, is there's never more than 2 or 3 people in the studio.
Right.
It was, for 90% of the time, it was just me alone with the engineer, aside from the one day that we tracked drums, and then one other day when we had 2 of my vocalists come in to help sing some backup harmonies. So we were able to, keep a distance and still work pretty productively. It was a pretty big studio I was working in.
Fantastic. Is it, when you're a solo artist like yourself, and you have to take all the decisions and kind of be self-started and keep the motivation on, and is it lonely? How do you, to help others, how do you keep your motivation?
Well, to keep my motivation, I owe it to a lot of people around me. I have a lot of musical friends who are encouraging me, and my family, of course, as well. But I understand a lot of people don't have that. A lot of people are trying to pursue a music career just on their own. A lot of musicians are told, I think, a lot of the time, to try and pursue something else, because it can be unpromising at times. But I really feel like what drives me more than anything is just I know I need to be doing this, and if you're a musician and you feel like you have to do this, and because you have this music that's in you that you have been wanting to get out for a long time, it's like you have to pursue it. You owe it to yourself and the world, if anything.
I agree. How would you describe that yearn, that mission, that when you say, as a musician, you have these songs in you and you have to make them, how would you describe that feeling?
I think if you find something that really inspires you, it's outside of music, if you're really inspired by, certain architecture or science or anything, for me it was music, and like I said earlier, I was really, really inspired by the band Say Anything, and I was like, at the time and still today, it's like, this is the best music I've ever heard. I want to do something like this. That music really touched me and encouraged me to be the best musician I can be myself. And I think once you've gone through that process, you owe it to everyone else in your field to maybe do that for someone else someday. I hope that my music will at some point really encourage and inspire someone else. And that's, I feel like that's how music moves forward, progressively, is that
Absolutely.
we all need to find something that inspires us that we can build upon.
Absolutely. These words are really wise, and you think of humanity. What are we at the end? We're just like the result of the influence from the people that we meet along our lives, and and the changes and decisions that we take after relations or spoken words. Think about it, like something that somebody said and they had no idea how influential that was, even if it was just for a minute.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I want to be mindful of your time. Wyatt James with his solo project Horsewreck. By the way, this is a great name. And
thank you.
We are enjoying Is This Real? When is it going to be complete? Is this available already everywhere? How are you going about releasing it?
Yeah, so Is This Real has been out since November 11th. And it's on all major platforms, Spotify, iTunes, SoundCloud. And I actually also just released a Christmas single a couple weeks ago as well, called Christmas Party Pooper, which is all on the same platforms. You can find you can find all my media on my link tree on Instagram. I'm under just Horsewreck on Instagram. You can find all my music there and all my media.
We'll put all these links on the description. Horsewreck.
Yeah, they're all in my bio.
This is really, really good. Had you some kind of... would you like to give some kind of advice to your younger self or people that maybe are getting started in music?
Oh, sure, yeah. To anyone, like starting out young, I mean, the best, I feel like that's the best time to get started. I feel like in terms of songwriting, I kind of have a late start, and I'm really thankful for starting when I did, because musicians are just getting younger and younger these days. So, but it's never too late to start. So, if any point in your life you're thinking that you want to, pursue any kind of art or anything that you're passionate about, you can start whenever. And I'm so thankful that I started, and I'm doing this now, because at 25, I think I finally know, what I want to be doing with my life. I've decided that I'm going to pursue this no matter what. So.
You got it all. You got the talent, you have the time, really. It's not late at all, and you've made the decision. And as long as you stick with it, nothing can stop you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, so this was Wyatt James, wonderful person, besides an incredible musician, and we're going to enjoy a little bit more of Is This Real? With his solo project, Horsewreck.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure, Wyatt. Until the next one.
Yes, likewise.
Okay.
I'm calling out to you, but you can't hear. With my green light each night at the end of the pier.
Are you tired of the typical libraries with conventional music that makes you feel meh? Introducing Leerecs.com, the music website made for and by minds like you. Our team are lifelong musicians and producers in love with music. Search the Leerecs music catalogs and find music with guaranteed originality. Mark the difference with music of signature at Leerecs.com.